We've had all three candidates on that are running for sheriff here in Orange County, and they all talked about one issue that really has impacted our law enforcement community, and that's the whole subject of illegal immigration.
Absolutely.
It's becoming a huge issue now. We have people on both sides of that issue going to Arizona to demonstrate for or against the law they just passed recently. We've been seeing it run over into the sports field. We've seen some of the sports teams taking stands on that, some of the coaches speaking out on one side or the other on that. Illegal immigration is an issue, is a problem. Many say, well, it's a federal problem. We don't worry about it in California. Let the feds deal with it. Others are saying, like Arizona, let's deal with it at the state level. Your take on the illegal immigration issue?
You're not going to believe this, but just last night I spoke to a Republican who's a really good friend of mine in the district, whose son is a border agent, patrol agent on the border. I mean, he's in uniform, and he tells his dad this. He says, we should legalize marijuana because one of the big attractions back and forth in the border is illegal drugs that are being smuggled. If you don't have that, you're going to take one of the advantages, one of the incentives to come across the border away. He said the other interesting thing is that what's going from the United States border to the Mexican border are guns. Right. The president of Mexico stood up and said that the ban on assault weapons ought to be put back in place in this country. And you know, I'm a gun lover just like everybody else. 410 shotgun, kid as a Kansas boy growing up, and you know, we shot pheasants and rabbits and dove and quail, and my grandmother baked them and cooked them when we did it. I mean, this is the real deal. But assault weapons, I'm not sure that ban ought. Well, I'm sure that ban ought to be reinstated. And this is a proposal coming from a kid that's whose family's here in California, whose granddad is right in my district, who's a solid Republican, and he's saying these things, and that's what his kid's saying. The other thing that kids having problems with is that in the area that he's patrolling, you've got the native Indians, and they don't particularly like the feds either. So this poor kid has got it coming from the north, coming from the south, and then right in the middle. And I mean, he's right in the middle of it.
We've seen the partial wall be built. Would you advocate that? Because, like, obviously it's a federal issue, but would you advocate they continue building more wall?
I don't think that's going to do it. I think we have to remove the incentive. Most people are common sense capitalists around here, and we know that where there's a demand, there's going to be a supply. And again, putting aside the drugs and guns problem that we have at the border, we certainly have to have security, but at the same time it has to be common sense. And finally, I think what we need, and I get this from my own personal experiences, is some sort of 12-step program is what I've called it, towards legalization. In other words, if I said to you, Rob, we've got a program where we've got 12 million people in this state that are drunk and showing up late for the job, screwing up on the job, driving home and killing people, and I said, look, we've got a program, it's called the 12 Steps, that'll get these people to sobriety and productivity, you'd say, let's do it. And they need some sort of common sense 12-step program to get people to citizenship that are here, and we need to seal the border.
Some would say that's an amnesty program, and it just encourages more illegals to come.
Well, you know, you can, if you look at it from the 12-step program of understanding that at some level we're powerless over this, and at some level we have to trust a system to get us to the next step, some sort of redemption, some sort of hope for these people. I think that works. I'll take you to a spot here in the 70th district, and we can go door to door. They don't speak English. They don't want to come to the door. And if the people that are on both sides of this really want to uproot people in this district, in this community, in this county, and uproot those families and uproot those law-abiding citizens and make them go back and stand in line, I'll take you, go to door and we can start doing that. I don't think the humanitarian people, the people that really have the Christian ethic in their heart of trying to treat people like they'd like to be treated, would really want to do that.
We're tight on time this morning. Just one final quick question. We're hearing so much about energy these days. Obviously, we're all aware of the mess going on down in the Gulf of Mexico with the oil. Offshore drilling has been very controversial over the years in California. We all know about the Santa Barbara spill years ago. Your take on that, real quick, on energy, and then the gentleman who holds this current office is also advocating nuclear. Your take on that?
I have said this, Robin, and I believe it, that at some level we have got to develop the technology to search for this energy safely. What's going on down in Louisiana was really the outgrowth of poor administration from the federal level to let the British Petroleum drill without knowing what would happen and without having a plan in place. and it was required, but the federal agency in charge allowed them to drill without that. So we have to point the finger really where the problem is, which is primarily a lack of regulation and being a little too cozy with the industry. That, to me, has to stop, and I think the president's going to do that.
Okay. Lots of issues. We thank you
very
very
much,
much for
Ron.
talking
Really
with
glad
us
to be
today.
here.
Mike Glover, running for the 7th Assembly District in the Democratic Party. And again, tomorrow is Election Day, so we urge you folks to get to the polling places tomorrow if you haven't already voted by mail. We'll be back with more. Stay with us.